Welcome to the 30-Minute Hour. It's the personal development podcast for entrepreneurs and executive leaders who are looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. Joining me as always, you know him as the super CEO, the business strategist extraordinaire, and all-around good guy, Ted Fells.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday.
It is indeed a happy Monday. It's we can call it Strategy Monday because the people are going to get some simple strategies to land their ideal customer.
Okay. All right.
We have a marketing guru who is our guest today, and she's going to break it down, and everybody's going to be able to convert and niche and level up and all that great stuff.
Good.
All right. So let's go ahead, without further ado, as they say, let's go ahead and bring her on. She started her company in 2011 after spending 20 plus years in corporate America as a corporate trainer, working her way up through the ranks. And then so currently she's got her agency, a marketing agency, which focuses on web development and SEO. Over the last 10 years, she has consistently built simple, effective, get in the door strategies to attract and land ideal customers, building her agency to over $3.5 million. She's helped hundreds of business owners. Please join me in welcoming to the 30-Minute Hour, Lisa Parazel.
Thank you, Eric. I like the chant. Go ahead, Ted. Keep it. What a way to start your Monday, right? Coming in here talking about business. I know if you guys are anything like me, that's the preferred topic, morning, noon, and night.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So except when I'm with my non-business friends, and then we refrain.
There you go.
Your non-business friends are like, do you ever stop working?
Exactly.
Do you ever stop working?
Ted, those are the same friends that also say, are you ever not on vacation?
Are you ever not on vacation?
That's interesting. We're going to unpack that because I have a couple of questions to ask you about the whole freedom business and all that good stuff. I heard you mention that on another show, so we'll talk about that. But let's I want to take us back to the beginning. Could you share the story of why you decided to leave corporate America and launch your agency?
Yeah, it's a really like American story, as I like to say. You know, we live the American dream. We think we're going to get this great job. So we work our butts off to get into the C-suite and, get some executive level job. I was a vice president running a training organization, and it was the most backstabbing, claw your way to the top corporate America environment that you can get. And sitting at my beautiful desk by the window, I'd made it. I got a window seat. It just occurred to me one day that I would have to do this another 30 years. And the idea of doing that another 30 years about crushed my soul. I still didn't leave, but I started getting that feeling. I started feeling like this can't be what we're supposed to do, right? We're not supposed to do this. And sitting around one day with a fella who had done just that. He spent his whole life saving and scrimping so the one day he could retire and have all this money and live the dream retirement. A month after he retired, he got in a horrific car accident.
Oh.
His wife was crippled and bedridden the rest of her life. He couldn't do much of what he wanted to. And one day he just saw us working all the time, and he came and spoke to us and told us his story. And something about that day, like it was like a switch. Like, what am I doing? There's nothing wrong with working all the time, but I'm working for the man. And I'm going to have to do that until I was well in my 70s just to have a decent life. It was that day we decided to open a company in 2011. We walked away from corporate jobs and started our company. And as they say, the rest is history. Not easy history, but history.
Right.
Interesting. So you say not easy history. So if you know, because everybody looks at you now and see you just made the comment that, hey, you know what? I'm always on vacation. I got my own business. I'm free from the man. But tell us about those early days. What was it like as a startup? Here's really the question I want to know. How long did it take you to really feel like you had traction? Let's start there.
Yeah, we did okay. Our first year, I had made enough to replace, my wife's salary, so she quit her job. By year 2, we had made enough money to replace both our salaries, but I stayed in the job. Why? A lot of baggage in my head, a lot of fear, and I just wasn't ready to get rid of that security blanket of having a paycheck. It took me about 3 years to go full in, not because I was brave, guys, because I got laid off from my job.
Mm.
And that forced me to make a decision. Am I going to go look for another job? By then, our company was making multiple 6 figures, and I literally one day sat here and thought, man, should I get another job? That really solidifies kind of what's in our heads, right? Most of us didn't go to business school. Most of us didn't get into a business because we knew exactly what to do, and I was no different. It probably took me a good 5 years in just to even realize, man, I've got to step it up. I've got to have processes. I got to figure out things a little better. Lead gen was always my sweet spot, but that's it. I struggle with the rest of the business. And probably 8 years in, it became easy, right? Because I'd figured all that stuff out. I did the work. And now it's a well-oiled machine to where, yes, I take 12 or more weeks of vacation a year. I work from anywhere in the world I want. I go where I want, when I want, how I want. And that's the dream, but it doesn't happen day one. Now, knowing what I know today, I could get there a little faster. But there's a speed. You can't open a business today and earn $1 million tomorrow and take the vacation the next day. It doesn't work that way.
It'd be nice if it did, though. Right?
Yeah, why not?
If it did, everyone would do it. So honestly, we don't want it to be easy, because if it was so easy, it would reset the playing field and it would level set everything. So we do want it to be hard. We do want it to be hard enough that only those of us hungry enough to live this life get to do it.
So what advice would you give to that startup version of yourself, maybe the first 3-year version of yourself, knowing what you now know about business? What advice would you give to that version of yourself?
Yeah, so that one's pretty easy. I would tell myself to stop focusing on the stuff that doesn't matter. Usually the stuff that we're doing in the first few years is a lot of busy work, right? We have this idea like, oh, I need the perfect invoice and I need this perfect this. And we're doing all this busy work because we're trying to avoid what we really should be doing. And that's usually the hard stuff we don't want to do. So I'd probably tell myself, hey, every day you get up, go ahead and do the thing that you are dreading to do the most and get it done. Because the rest of your day is going to be gravy after that.
So Ted, you and I talk about this quite often, about the whole hamster wheel and moving the needle and all of that. Any thoughts you want to add to that?
Yeah. Lisa, when we I often talk about the hamster wheel, right? Like, you just get on it, you just run, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you stop. Monday, you're back on the hamster wheel, moving. And then, several months have gone by. You had all these goals and things that you had set for yourself for the year. It's June, and you're still on that hamster's still just on the dresser, right? Like now he's burned some calories. He's worked out, right? He's burned some
He's a
calories.
fit hamster.
Oh, he's fit, but he hasn't gone anywhere. So he didn't make it to the beach or anything. So he's fit just up on the dresser. But, at some point, you stop and you have to say, okay, am I really making progress? Am I really you know, moving? Am I making some distance here? And that's just a thing that, because you get set into that mindset of just you got to be doing some stuff, right? Even if the stuff that you're doing is not getting you any closer to where you're trying to get to, unless again in the hamster's situation, you know, burning calories.
Yeah, I mean, you're dead on. I mean, we feel busy. We're marking stuff off our lists, but are those the right things to be marking off in the beginning? Usually, no. I always talk about getting the CEO mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't work in your company, you work on your company, and the sooner you get to that CEO mindset, the faster you're going to get to live the right life. Ted, I found it funny. You said Monday through Friday, you're on the hamster wheel. When you first start that business, it's Monday through Sunday.
Yeah.
You wake up on Monday thinking, man, I didn't even get a day off.
Yeah.
You want to set those boundaries immediately. I have 40 hours this week. Let's make the most of these 40 hours, and the stuff that don't get done in those 40 hours, well, you know what? Let's see if it's important next week, because it surely isn't this week.
Mm.
That means a bunch of stuff's going to stay on that list until you finally have the courage to just take it off.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, one of the issues I have though as a CEO is that you think that the way that you do it is the only way that it can be done. So like you get to a point where sometimes, you know, you'll see your members of your team send an email and they'll CC you on it, and you're like, why did you say it that way? Like you could have said it this way. And it took me a while to get to the point now where I'm just like, okay, is it effective? Like, yeah, I'm not the one to send a whole lot of fluffy stuff in my, hey, you know, I'm like, hey, good morning, hope all is well, da 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 da. But somebody else, they got all kind of bunny rabbits and unicorns and stuff in there. And I'm like, what's with all those bunny rabbits and unicorns? But then I'm like, okay, but did they get to the point at some point? Okay. Now, if it's one person I had to go to, I'm like, okay, now you're writing these really, really long emails. You don't even like reading long emails, right? So you got to find a way to get concise and get to the point, because people don't like when people, especially if they're looking at something on their phone, you're just kind of like taking quick looks, right? So, okay, this is what Lisa wants. Okay, let me get back to her, versus you're constantly like scrolling down to look at stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, I'll give some feedback to. But other than that, I'm kind of like, you got to let that person, their personality. I mean, if it's nothing offensive, if it's nothing, you know, too crazy, let them kind of communicate the way they do, because who knows, that person may like them talking about, you know, unicorns and rabbits and all that before getting into the discussion. So just had to you know, work on that, and just being like, it's not just the way that I there's a million ways to do stuff, you know.
I think we all learn to work on that, right? It's our baby, it's our ship, and we feel like, you know, we perfected it, but to let somebody walk in and take ownership of it, it's scary. It's hard. It's something we're not used to. I tend to do what I like to refer to as the 360 type of coaching, right? Instead of telling them what they did wrong, I might come into that same email situation and say, hey, so can we review this? And then they bring it up, say, anything you see you could have done differently here? I don't even tell them what they did wrong. Do they recognize it themselves? Right. And I find that people retrospectively will find their own errors, and then they'll say, oh, yeah, it was a little long-winded. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. What can we do better? Like, if you had to rewrite this again, what do you think you could have done better? Now they've owned it. They've come up with the idea. I didn't, you know, crap all over it, or
not you picking on them, right?
Make them feel bad. Just trying to help them own the process. That, listen, we're not all chatty Cathy. We don't all have the same personality. And although this person might love that, this guy over here, you're irritating the heck out of him. So we got to know our audience, right? So I look at it as a learning or a teaching opportunity in any business. Now, I don't get CC'd on the emails if I can help it. That's
right.
You know, that's the point. I don't want to. But when someone's brand new, yeah, you should be looking at their emails. You should be, or somebody should, if not you.
Even, it's funny, the same person, hopefully she will listen to this, but like I'll come into the, team meeting and be like, hey, good morning, everyone. I hope you all had a great weekend. I jump into it. She's like, hey, good morning, everyone. How was your weekend?
Oh, yeah, it's different.
And I'm like, and then people are like, oh, da 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 da. And I'm like, so then 15 minutes in, then they get into the stuff. And I'm just like, it's not that I don't hope you all had a wonderful weekend, but that's not really what this is about. We got, we're trying to quickly get into what it is that we need to talk about. But I think a lot of it, though, as a CEO, I wonder, was I like that when I worked for someone, right? Like when it's you, it's a little different. It's kind of like, this is your thing, this is your time, this is your, money, like this is your baby, and you want to get the most, make all the moments be productive. When others are kind of like, well, it's hard for them to kind of simulate being like it's all like it's as critical as we treat it.
I mean, that's natural, though. It was easy, and I remember corporate America. It wasn't my money. The results weren't mine. The end game wasn't mine. It was a lot easier to look past that sort of thing. But they had deep pockets. They had bigger, abilities. We don't have those abilities. So 5 people wasting 15 minutes is money. It's money out of your pocket, and frankly, time.
Right.
As the CEO, we don't have 15 minutes.
Right.
15 minutes are precious. My biggest hint, and I help my team do the same thing. I say, hey, when you get on with a customer, here's what I want you guys to do. I don't even care what you have scheduled after that call. If you've scheduled 30 minutes, you need to tell that person, hey, listen, I got a hard stop in 25 minutes. So we need to get right to it. And then just go, right? We're not there to be friends with our customers. When we do that, I feel like that puts us in a bad place to do that. You can be friendly. Hey, how's it going? Hope you had a great weekend, just like you said. And they might say, yeah, you too? Yep, it was great. Hey, got a hard stop at. And my team started to learn, wait, you do that to me? I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Because I got things to do. Otherwise, they and you will spend most of your day placating people and having these conversations. Then it gets to be 4:00. You look at the clock and go, man, I got 4 hours worth of work. Well, had you stuck to business and done what you were supposed to do when you were supposed to do it, you'd be logging off in an hour.
Well, your team, they'll let you know the hard stop when it's close to time to go. They've been chatty Cathy all morning, but now it's like, we're getting close to 4. We're getting close to 4.
So they get down to business then. Now, this is good stuff.
It's a culture thing. You've got to learn to be different. Coming from corporate America, man, you manage differently there, right? Manage differently. And then coming into your own business, it's different. And you've got to switch to that understanding that a lot of these people, they sit at home by themselves alone. And they don't have that human interaction. So you want to have empathy. You want to engage them occasionally. Like maybe once a week, I'll be like, hey, man, how you doing? Or we have that 10 or 15 minutes, but not every call, every meeting. It's too much.
How's the dog? And now you got a new dog, you got a new puppy. Let's talk about the puppy. It's Friday afternoon. They don't want to talk about the puppy. No,
I'd like to take the puppy out for the walks. I got to go. Yeah. But I mean, that's what we have to do. And, I always remind myself, the CEO sets the culture and the temperament of the business. So if you do that in meetings, you're giving permission for someone else to do that. If you don't do it and you act the way you want them to act, they're more likely going to emulate the culture that you're putting down. So we have a little empathy. Of course, we want to take interest and we want to sympathize if they got something going on. But I also can't spend 2 hours being, the therapist either, right? I don't have time nor the qualifications for that.
Sure.
So, and I truly like my team and I enjoy being with them and I enjoy talking to them, but I enjoy my off time more. And I want to get to it as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So let's shift this a little bit. Let's start talking a little bit more about marketing. So what was the moment when you discovered the importance of having the right customer versus having just any customer?
Yeah, that is a phenomenal question. You know, we talk about customer avatars, right? The perfect customer for you. I wish I could say that, man, I walked in this business and I knew who my perfect customer was. That's not the case. Like every business owner, I figured out who my customer wasn't long before I figured out who my customer was by working with the wrong people. It started quickly being, ooh, I get why I wouldn't take that customer again or that type of customer. And so those red flags helped me form that perfect avatar, that right customer. And what I did is I modeled my perfect customer after the perfect customers we started getting. Why do I love working with this customer so much? Why does this customer seem to have so much success and this customer doesn't? And I started looking at traits, personalities, just everything I could to figure out how do I get more of that?
Because can you describe your ideal customer?
Well, for me in the marketing space, I would say for me, the perfect customer is not necessarily someone who needs this or needs that. It's more of somebody who has the right mindset. And so I want a customer that, let's think home services, for example. If we're going to go into the home services space, I want a guy who has 2, maybe 3 trucks, that wants to grow his business, knows that there'll be a reward to grow his business, and is willing to do what it takes to do so, and even understands an investment is necessary. Right? If I'm on the initial meeting and, you know, these folks are already pushing back, I can't afford. And all you hear is how they can't afford this or they can't afford that. That's a giant red flag to me, right? You know, a good business owner will figure it out, right? We had no problem figuring out how to get the money to the loan for the RV or the loan for the car or the loan for the boat or the loan for the house. Why is it so hard to get the loan for the business? Right? So when I come across a company that wants to grow and they say, I don't have the money, the first question I ask them is, would you be willing to take out a loan? If they say no, I challenge them. Why not? Do you have a car? Yep. You have a boat? Yep. You have an RV? No. What about a jet ski? I just ask some questions. And when they say yes to a bunch of stuff, I said, why was it so easy to finance that? And take a loan for that, but you're not willing to invest in yourself? Well, I'll be honest, if you don't want to invest in you, either do I. Right? And that's my perfect customer. If they're willing to invest in themselves, whether it be time or money, and put in one or both of those, that's the right customer for me.
Wow. So Lisa, when you talk about like marketing, like what are some of the marketing services that you offer to your customers?
Yeah, so we're very specific. We do website design, logo design, and brand, and we do SEO, digital marketing. That's it, right? So those are our sweet spots. If they need other things and we think it'd be complementary, we have partners we work with that do the other things that we don't, should we need to inject those things. But at the end of the day, the service we provide is none of those things. We provide growth. And so we consider ourselves a growth partner. I'm there to grow your business. That's what I'm there for. I'm not there to get you clicks, licks, or likes. I'm there to grow your business, get you more revenue, double, triple, quadruple, your business.
Wow.
And so that's what we focus on. That's what I focus on in my initial meetings. That's what I focus on. If we do a monthly call, which for the first 6 months is required to work with us, if you won't get on a call with me and you don't have time for me, how do you have time for your customers? Right? You can't take a half hour for me. How are you running your business? Let's work.
Well, you know what it is. They say, okay, so I've got Lisa there. I can check that box. She is now responsible for all my marketing. I can just move on to the next thing.
At worst, Eric, they checked that box and said, Lisa's now responsible for my success or failure.
Yes.
And we have that conversation. That's not on me. This is a team effort, right? There's no I in team and there is no we in team, right? There's all of us. There's a team. And the team has to be working together. I need to know when you start getting, prospects. 1, are they the right people? Are they what you're looking for? 2, how are you closing them? What's your closing ratio? I once had a customer tell me that we weren't getting them enough leads. We got them over 1,000 leads in 1 month. 1,000. They closed 7. This is not a lead problem. This is a closing problem. We worked with this company. We got them to close. They went from 500K to 2 million in less than a year. That's our job. And I think marketing companies are forgetting that. They think, oh, I just got to get them to the top of the search engine. Well, that's great, but what happens if they come to their site and their site doesn't convert? What happens if the back office isn't doing the right thing? Either way, you're going to get fired. If you want to keep your job with them, figure it out. Help them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're no longer just marketing companies. We have to morph into a company that helps them convert as well.
Wow.
It sounds like you're speaking to this, but really articulate, like, what is it that makes your marketing agency different? Why should somebody choose your agency over all the other marketing companies that are out there?
And I think there's plenty of marketing companies that are like us that you could choose. We're definitely not unique in that way. I think what a good agency needs to possess in 2025 is the ability to pivot and shift with the markets, know what your client needs to get the conversion, right? Think about it like, that quarterback's running down the field, and a good friend of mine gave me this analogy and I just love it. His name is Danny, really smart guy. He said, man, you're just, and I don't know. He said, you're just the a-hole that gets in the traffic, but the guy who gets him over the finish line, now that's the hero, right? And that's so true. Like, if I only get them down to the red zone, and then I walk away, right? So I think our company is set apart because we're not happy until we get every lead that we're garnering over that finish line with them, not for them, with them. And that's what's important. You're like an external marketing department, and I got to own that success, right? I take great pride in my entire team. And we talked about culture. Our entire culture revolves around the success, not measurements of likes and follows and whatever junk a lot of people do. That's all irrelevant if we can't close the deal. Too easy to blame the customer. Well, that's the customer's job. Well, guess what? You get them all the way down to the red zone and the customer can't get it into the end zone, that team's still going to lose every day. And losing teams don't have the money to pay big contracts. So you're one of the players on the field. You're not going to get any money. You probably lose your job because that team can't get across the finish line.
So it's more than just the activity, kind of going back to the hamster, right? I mean, it's got to be moving. It's got to get them across the finish line. If not, then you're just doing some stuff.
Yeah, you're more of a service provider than a growth partner. And I think we're all a team, and with companies changing the way they work, it's no longer, especially the small business, they're not going to hire an entire marketing department. Instead, they're going to bring in an expert that already has the resources, knows what they're doing. But if you're not working with the whole team, if you're not working with the sales team, you're not working with the fulfillment team, you're not part of the process. As marketing companies, a lot of marketing companies tend to be like, man, I'm not going to their meetings. Why not? Well, I don't have time for that. Well, somebody in your company needs to have time for that, right? Because they need to know what's going on so we can pivot and address it and, revolve our marketing around it. So that's not normal in a marketing company. People don't want to do that. But you can do that and still have a freedom lifestyle, right? Now, I will say this, do all of the people in my company that work with me, I call them my talent, do they have the freedom lifestyle? Yes, they do. Because we not only talk the talk as culture, we walk the wall. They manage their schedules. They manage their time. They manage their vacations, just like I do. But there's one big difference. I own the company, and they don't. Right?
That's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference. Yeah. So we don't have jealousy. We talk about that right from the beginning. Listen, you're going to see me travel all the time. I'm at Disney World 3 times a year. I go to the beach. I go here. I go there. My computer's always in my bag. Always. You need anything, you contact me. I will be there for you. I expect the same unless you're on a paid vacation. You want to go to your kid's soccer game and be logged in working? Go to your kid's soccer game and be logged in working. So the culture has to go through the whole company, right? Not just the CEO, right? Not just the lead. They got to want to own it. They want to own the results. They want to be excited, like, man, this is what happened with this customer. We had a customer just recently post on Facebook. So sure, I agree with this, but post on Facebook, we had the best month yet, and posted what they made. I'm like, your customers just saw that. Not sure that's a great idea, but peace. My team loved it. They're like, how much they make? I'm like, exactly. And you were part of that. And it was a 6 stupid number that I was even shocked by it. I'm like, well, we're doing something right. But be careful. That's one thing I'd say. Be careful about boasting and what you say and how you present yourself, right? I don't show up to client meetings, I mean, I joke, we have a cowboy Cadillac, right? One of those F-250, very expensive trucks. I don't show up in that. I show up in my Honda CRV.
Yeah.
You can't go out boasting about what you're doing. You want to do all these things with humility and be very humble and be happy genuinely for your client that even they might be making 10 times more money than you make.
I try to tell Eric the same thing, but he wants to drive up in a Ferrari. I'm like, look, you can't come in there in this fluorescent green, Ferrari and suit in the meeting. You just can't do that. So
I got to tone it down.
You got to tone it down. Yeah, tone it down.
Yep, got to tone it down. So let's hear about some simple strategies for the people. What are some simple strategies that people can deploy to their ideal customer?
Yeah, so I'll get into something that's old school / new school. And then if you guys want more ideas, I definitely have them. But something that I used right from the beginning when I started my company is I went out and found lists of brand new businesses that were out there that have never, ever been out there. And I would contact them via a simple little mailer, right? With a stamp on it. And hey, congratulations on your new business. Hey, I'd like to, let you know we're a local business. We're right down the street. I'm so excited, et cetera, right? I'd make it very personal sounding, but they were definitely not personal. They were pre-printed and in envelopes ready to go. But at the end of the day, it was the first piece of mail these people ever received because they just started a new business. Guess what we opened when we first started business? Any piece of mail, because my new business name is on the front. I'm going to open this. 10 years in, we're like, we don't even open it. We put it right into the shredder without even opening it. Right. That helped me get in the door when I first started and really start building my business because I was too shy. I don't know. I'm not shy. I don't like cold calling. I don't like walking in somebody's building. I don't like getting on a phone and cold call. It's just not my personality. I don't care for it. I wanted permission-based sales, right? You call me, permission-based. Yeah, you email me, permission-based. You go to my webinar, permission-based. So old school, sending out a piece of mail is working again. We've never stopped doing it, but there were some years where we're getting a meager 1% reply, which still made us money, but not a whole lot. In the last year, we've seen that 1% tick up quickly. I don't know why, but to a 4 to 5%. Really. Now, we definitely are up in our game with what we say and how we do it. And we've added more resources that make them come and check us out more and things like that. We've gotten smarter with it. But I really, truly believe that go to your mailbox today. How much mail is coming in there? Remember when we used to open it up? We had Valpak and we had this, we had that. Not anymore. It's pretty much your bills. That's it. Just your bills. So I think that's what makes it kind of back in favor that nobody's hitting the mailbox. And so we're doing that.
The typical response rate is 0.5% now on direct mail. So if you're getting 4%, people need to be calling you.
Yeah, 4 to 5%. And so everything we do in our business, we also then apply to specific customers if they're willing, right? Stamps aren't cheap. Let's be honest. Postage has gone up crazy. It's 73 cents. It's about to go up to 78 cents. Print Paper's not cheap anymore. So it's a good $1.50 for the package we sent out. Costs us $1.50 for every address we send it out to. We don't care about that number. That number's not important. All we care about is our ROAS, right? Return on ad spend. So if I spend $1,200 to send these mailers out, if I break even, I didn't pay a dime to advertise. If I make $1, I got paid. That's different than, I went to Facebook and spent thousands of dollars and didn't get crap. So for me, it's still a really good method. Even if you get 1%, you've gotten in the door. You've made that relationship. You're probably now going to continue working with that customer long term. Over time, that 1% is worth every bit of the time and money spent. Now, mind you, this is one of about 10 methods we employ. So we're not just counting on those mailers. We're also doing cold email, which I don't love, but it's a necessary evil. We don't do social media at all. So I'm not doing Facebook ads per se, but a really, really good lead gen is very specific, what I call avatar groups. It's another great method. And what I mean by that is you go onto Facebook and you start the group, right? You're the group owner, which means you dictate the rules. You dictate who can say what, who can advertise to who, etc. And you do that to a very specific avatar. So let's say I wanted to go out and find all personal injury attorneys in the US. Well, I'm going to create a resource for personal injury attorneys and a space for them to get together. Maybe it's personal injury marketing tips and tricks, whatever it is. I'm going to foster that group. That's the only time you'll see me spend a little coin on any kind of advertising. I might do a little Facebook advertising to get people in the group. Now, you can't run an ad directly into a group. The link from the ad cannot go to a group. So you're going to have to send them to another page, free training, some kind of tip or trick, something there. And then on that page in big, bright, button, join our free Facebook group. And you could, I think one test we did, we had 1,500 members in 2 months. Again, these are live people that are the avatars. Now we can start doing some free training. That free training then push them to say, well, man, this is complicated. Maybe you should do this for me. Right? So when you think about the methods, what you're trying to do is not make a sale with the method. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong.
Right.
Think about dating, right? You go out on that first date. If you're a boy, you have some ideas. If you're a girl, no, we'll be lucky to get to second base, right? So as a boy, you want to get past second base. What you should do is at least get to first base, right? You're not going to go straight to second or third.
Lisa, this is a children's show.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, you're going to pace yourself or you're going to get smacked. We're
trying to help you not get smacked. We're trying to help you not get.
I say marketing's the same way that. I mean, we're selling $3,000, $5,000 SEO contracts. These people don't know us from Adam. And frankly, they've probably been burned now that we're in 2025. 10 years ago, not so much. Now they've probably been burned. So the first thing we sell them shouldn't be a high expensive product. So we like to get in the door with a less expensive, earn their trust. Then they're like, man, this Lisa and her team, I mean, all we bought from them was this $150 service, and they acted like we were $1 million customer. Mm-hmm. Very easy when they come to that sales call with me and start talking about SEO. It's not even we always joke, it's not a sales call. It's just a conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm going to educate you, show you where you're at, show you your facts. This is what it costs if you want our help. Let me know what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not an aggressive salesperson, and you don't have to be. You don't have to be that shark, right? Oh, you can't afford it? Let's talk about your credit cards. I'm not that person. Because remember, if they really are in that mindset, they're not my ideal customer anyway. Yeah. My ideal customer says, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to get that money. That's how I know I'm not going to lose that money because this is the real deal and I'm going to be the real deal. That's the people I want to work with. So it's less about getting the credit card and more about getting on that first, I call it our trust pilot, right? Where trust us. And I have a customer that is still with me today. They hired us to do a $5 Fiverr postcard. Yep, I got a profile on Fiverr. $5 to build a postcard for them. Now, you know, we didn't make $1 on that, right? They have themselves and some of their customers in all these years spent, customers they referred to us, have spent over $2 million from a $5 get in the door and earn their trust, right? Wow. And you got to treat them like $1 million even when they're spending $5.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know Facebook groups are really working well. I've had really good success with them. Print mail is working really good. Cold email, it works. It's just a lot of email and a low percentage, right?
What's your typical open rate on emails?
Open rates usually are right around 20 to 25%. Yeah. About average. I mean, we've tried everything. It's just we're getting too much stuff in our inbox, right? And the first guy who comes up with the new trick gets a little more sauce, and then people copy them, and then it doesn't work anymore. So it's a never-ending game. Now we work with a cold email company. We let them handle it. That's, you know, if we have customers who want to do it, you know, we use this company. But at the end of the day, there's better methods to spend your time and money on. If you're brand new, if you don't have the appetite to do a bunch of things, cold email is not the one I'd go down.
Okay. Good stuff. No, this is good. I mean, the list of the new businesses to mail to, the avatar groups. I mean, it's a lot of good simple strategies that people can implement to deploy to get their ideal customer. So next, we're going. This is Ted's favorite part of the show. It's called Write This Down. Right. This is where we each go around and we give at least one idea from today's episode that we want the people to write down so they can level up. So Lisa, you are guest of honor. What do the people need to write down from today?
I would say the part where we talked about being the CEO in your business is what you need to write down. Because right now you're tempted to think, oh man, these are great ideas. So I'm now going to go spend the next month creating postcards and creating mailers and doing this and doing that. Nope. Hire that out. If you can't hire it out and you have staff, have your staff do it. But you need to be moving on to the next big idea. Like, remember, CEOs come up with the ideas. If you don't have a team is the first thing you should work on. Right? So be the CEO in your business.
That's right. Write that down. Be the CEO in your business. All right, Ted, what you got?
You know, it's interesting. I'm kind of in that whole CEO part of the conversation as well. A lot of things, Lisa, you were saying were resonating with me. And, you know, I often say, you know, to my team, like, I can't hunt and cook at the same time. Right. I can't hunt and cook. I can't pitch and be the catcher. Right. I can't, like, I gotta be able to trust that, you know, you guys can cook, you know, what I hunt, right, and bring in, or you guys can catch what what I'm pitching, right? But if I, you know, find myself having to hunt and cook, you know, it's not working well, right? Like, it's, you know, I'm often thinking of, you know, 12th floor and 7th floor. You know, that's another thing that I always share with my team, where 12th floor, it's more the strategy and vision. And then 7th floor, that's where the brownies and the cookies are getting made. Right. If I got to always be down there, Lisa, making brownies and cookies, right, I can't be up here, you know, with the strategy things. And, you know, it doesn't mean I'm too big to sometimes be down there doing, you know, making some brownies and cookies, but you don't want the CEO to be there. I need to be able to be up here on the 12th floor and be more, you know, visionary. And so, you know, so that whole conversation about, us being able to set culture and temperament and all of that, those things you said, I think those were some things definitely that our listeners should be writing down.
All right. Write that down. 12th floor versus 7th floor. All right. So for me, you were talking about, Lisa, the trying to find your ideal customer, that sometimes it's good to start by knowing who's not your ideal customer. I think that's great advice. And I think especially if you're in a service industry, it's tempting to try to want to take everybody, right? Hey, I need this money. But sometimes they say not all money is necessarily good money. If it drains you, takes you away from what you're supposed to be doing, creates more problems down the road. So really think about, we call them the cringe customer. That customer that you see their number, is like, oh, you just cringe for a little bit. Right. So you get clear on what it is that you don't want, and then that clarifies what you do want. And you think about the people who, you would just clone. That's never a problem. They get it. They understand how this works. They're not high maintenance and needy. They understand. They get the big picture. So that's for me to write that down. Really getting clear on your ideal customer by understanding who's not your ideal customer. Write that down.
Write that
All
down.
right.
And what Ted said earlier now is my new favorite thing, right? You can't pitch and catch at the same time. It couldn't be a clearer visual than that. You cannot be on the mound and at the catcher's base. You just can't. It's impossible to catch your own ball. I love that, Ted.
Thank you.
Good stuff. At least
see, as CEOs, we got to have time to be able to come up with catchy things to say too, right?
Isn't that what ChatGPT's for, though? ChatGPT makes me smarter than I am.
It does it for all of us, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So the people that want to, a lot of people now, they want to connect with you. What's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, just type in my name in social media. You see it on the screen right now. Just go into Google, type my name. You can't not find me. So I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I'm everywhere. Honestly, I'm pretty open about everything. If you email me, I'll email you back. If you write me, I'll write you back. Why? Because I have the time, because I'm not doing all the work. I have the time to do that. So nowhere specific. You can go to lisaparziel.com as well and find me that way. If you can spell it, that's the hardest part.
Well, fantastic. Lisa Parziel, thank you for everything that you shared. Speaking of sharing, those of you watching and listening, don't forget to share the show.
Share the show.
That's right. Don't keep this great information a secret. And shout out to Charles Taylor, who's commenting in the comment section. He says, woohoo, Lisa is in the house.
That's my man, Charles. So all my people that are here watching as well, I do actually run an agency training company that I keep pretty quiet. But for all you guys that are watching, all you guys that see this replay, and these guys are great. I've watched a bunch of their episodes, like what they're doing, share it, subscribe to their stuff, support them as well. What we tend to do is we tend to try to be our secret societies because we don't want the competition. There is enough business out there to go around, and people who create these tribes, we are way more impactful and all of us richer, both monetarily and just in life, if we share everything and help each other.
Absolutely.
Very well said. All right. And don't forget, you can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any of those podcasting platforms and follow or subscribe to the show. That way you'll never miss a future episode. That's our time for this week on the 30-minute hour. And until next time, have a great one.
Absolutely.